The landscape was certainly changing at the turn of the century. Sega released what would be their final console in the Dreamcast, Sony was making bank with their second incarnation of the PlayStation in the PS2, and Microsoft was about to enter the market with the Xbox. Now, Nintendo at this point were wrapping up their production of the N64 and were about to unveil a new console with a shape that would become synonymous with it. It's the Nintendo Gamecube. Originally codenamed Dolphin, this system certainly made a splash when it arrived on the scene. And yes, that was the best pun I could come up with. The Nintendo Gamecube was released on November 18th, 2001, as Nintendo's entry into the 6th generation of gaming. My Gamecube is the black version instead of the common purple you're most likely to see. But I did get an extra controller out of it. That's always a bonus. The box I have is somewhat worn, but is still able to stand up and show the actual size of the system on one side, and a bunch of other stuff everywhere else. Turning it to the right will show a bunch of info and logos along with accessories that you can use for it. To the right again is a pretty useless flap with nothing but a random picture of the top of the system. But we quickly move to the back of the box to see all the sample games that can be played on the GameCube, plus the contents that lie inside, and a registration tag that has vanished within the confines of the box. And this last flap has an old label taped over it that I should have removed before reviewing this. But enough of this box, it's time to do away with it and take a look at the console itself. As we get closer to the cube that plays games, the first thing that comes into thine eyes is the 2 memory card slots as well as the 4 controller ports. The memory card slots take these cards in order to save game data, and these ports are for a controller like this one to connect into. In my opinion, this controller is indeed one of the best ever made. I mean, I certainly can't get enough of them since I have 4 at my disposal. I can explain more in the future AC review I'll make later on, but now the cube requires my utmost attention. The top of the console is perhaps the most self-explanatory out of most systems, for you have the gray power button to turn the system on and off, the reset button to restart games and the system, and the open button which opens the lid to the system, which is a first for any Nintendo console. The GameCube also brought another first for Nintendo players, as the media the games came on weren't cartridges, but optical discs. Sure, they weren't CDs, but it was still a step in the right direction. After seeing the sides have air vents on them, we turn our focus to the back of the system where we have our normalities like the AV out and AC plug-in, and the oddity that is the handlebar. The reason for this being here in the first place is for easy portability when taking it somewhere else. I can see that happening on some occasions, but I think it's rare for the most part. The bottom of the system is maybe the most interesting part of it, as it can access unique features that you may have not known about. You can remove these lids to put in a modem for very limited online playing. I think only 8 games use this at all, and you can remove this lid to connect the Game Boy player, so you can play original Game Boy, Color, and Advance games on your GameCube. Just be sure you also have the disc to go along with it, and a flathead screwdriver to screw the accessory in. You don't want it to somehow fall off when it sits on it. Now that we covered all the sides of the cube, it's time we turn the system on and check out the games. The library for the Nintendo GameCube is actually really good. You got your classics like Metroid Prime and Mario Kart Double Dash, horror games like Resident Evil 4 and Eternal Darkness, party games like WarioWare and Mario Party 4, and adventure games like Zelda Wind Waker and Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. The list is very extensive with classics, and Mario Sunshine. I was introduced to this system by my buddy Elmo as he had it while I had a Wii. We played Smash Bros. Melee and Luigi's Mansion, which grew to be one of my favorite games of all time. This cube has the best games to play if you ask me. The Nintendo Gamecube is a great system to have. It certainly stood out back then as it brought as advertised its cube shape and great games to the masses of the gaming community. It's just a shame that it didn't do so well compared to the competition, and Nintendo hardly looks back at that period of their history. But in retrospect, this system is one of the best and you should own one when you get a chance, so you can play all of these classic titles and more on the NGC. I say the acronym like that because GNC makes no sense. It's the Nintendo Gamecube. As Nintendo was making the transition from cartridges to discs for their new console, their handheld market was also going to be transformed for the better. And on the next episode, we'll take a look at what happened when Nintendo took their Game Boy and made some advancements for the new century. If you think I missed anything, please leave a comment. If you like what you see, leave a like. If you think others could get knowledge out of this, share this video. And if you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. Now if you'll excuse me, nostalgia is calling.